Hello everyone and welcome to the ultimate race guide for the Elder Scrolls Online. In this guide we'll cover everything you need to know about races in the Elder Scrolls Online. And now to get started, let's switch over to Ruben where we'll explain everything. Hey Temple of Light, and thank you for having me. It's absolutely wild here at the tracks and... why did I have to escape Cold Harbor? Why didn't I stay there? Ruben, no! They didn't have cars in the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm talking about the races of Tamriel. Don't worry man, I got you this time. And they are up for a start. Pink and Dress leading the way right behind them. Brownie is off to a slow start. Bertie is making a good comeback. And behind in the back, there is still someone sleeping. He probably couldn't get off the skooma last night. Still sleeping and... Oh Ruben, you made me so furious. I'm not talking about that. I talk about races like the beast races. From Tamriel, from the Elder Scrolls Online, the racers! Sorry mate, honest mistake. Okay, so we got him going, the camel is leading the top, behind him is a jaguar and the guard is following with the Doomwolf right behind him. The lion is having a little bit of a problem, but... I wish someone would delete me, I know what to do. Hello everyone and welcome, and sorry for a little bit of miscommunication, you know, it sometimes just happens. So, welcome to the complete race guide for the Elder Scrolls Online. So I'm currently on my website because it's much easier to explain and show you the races, the difference between the race and the guide as well. I will also link the guide in the description and in the comments, so if you just want to read it for yourself, you can go ahead. Now in a quick word, we pretty much I will pretty much tell you what the best race is for healing, damage healing, tanking, magic and stamina. But as always, keep in mind that if you just plan on playing the game, you don't necessarily have to run the best race for a certain setup. What I mean with that is, you can make an orc healer work, you can make it work. It's just if you want to have the best out of the best percentage wise, then you probably don't want to run an orc, then you want something that has healing passives or has some extra magicka sustain. But you can still make it work, it just means that you miss out on like 5 or 10% magicka recovery or increased magicka. But again, if you just plan on doing like veteran dailies, maybe even trials, you know, if you're not planning on doing like world record runs or anything like that, then you can pretty much play any race that you want. But if you just want a good overview of what race to go with what, then you can check out learneso.net. I pretty much use a very simple system, a plus, plus minus and a minus. I didn't really want to do any like 7 out of 10 recommendations because that would just make it way too complicated. A plus minus pretty much, you know, the race isn't the best for it, but not towards either. Basically, the race has some affinity towards it, but there is very likely a race out there that is just a bit better on it. And like, not recommended at all, then you just have no bonuses towards that aspect of the game at all. For example, the orc we covered earlier, the orc is definitely a minus for healing because you get a bit of increased maximum health, you get increased weapon damage and you get increased stamina. So healing is magicka based, you don't have any benefit of being an orc healer. You can make it work, but you have no optimized race for it at all. So these are pretty much the overviews. Here you can see all the passes that each race gives. And on top of that, good for DPS, heal, tanking, and then magicka stamina, or even both. So the Argonian, first of all, Argonians are pretty much good in everything. Even after the nerf, which wasn't even that big of a nerf to them. Because everyone was playing Argonian pretty much any role you could imagine, like tanking, DPS, or healing. And why? Well, Argonians have the power of sustain. What I mean with that is, Resourceful is such a strong passive. Increase your max magicka by 1000. Restore 4000 health, magicka and stamina when you drink a potion. So whenever you drink a tri-step potion, for example, you just restore like around 7k. Plus the Resourceful passive, another 4k. That's 11k health, magicka and stamina you restore instantly. That's a lot of sustain. You also get an increased maximum health, and your disease resistance by 2.3k, and increase your healing done by 6%. They make for great DPS thanks to their resource pool and their sustain. They make the best healers in my personal opinion, because they are the only race out there that has an increase your healing done by 6%. Khajiit is the second race that has increased crit healing done. Those are the only two races out there that have a percentage in increasement healing done. But the Khajiit it's only for crit healing, while the argonian it's like flat. It's always a 6% increasement, so it's more reliable. Tanking is plus minus, but really there are plenty of argonian tanks out there thanks to their sustain. So thanks to the sustain you can really focus on a lot of other things. The only thing is that you need to use potions to have most use of their sustain. Breton, for example, the Breton is really good for damage. It is very good for healing, but not so great for tanking, as it is a magicka based race. The Breton is currently one of the strongest magicka races out there, with an increased max magicka pool, magicka recovery, and on top of that a nice 7% magicka cost reduction. It is very strong for magicka setups. Dark Elf, increased experience gain, good for DPS, healing, tanking. Now Dark Elf really is tricky, you know. I mean, if you plan on going a hybrid build, then it can definitely be actually better than it's currently listed. It's just that mostly in ESO, most people are either focused on weapon damage or magicka damage. And whenever you are focused on one resource, then it's better to be a race with that as well. So, I mean, Dark Elf gives you some increased maximum stats, but it doesn't give you any recovery. Though, to be honest, Dark Elf is, you know, it's a plus minus stance here for DPS though. I would actually say it's a plus, so I'm gonna change it. It's actually a plus for DPS dealing. Healing, I don't know, I wouldn't really recommend it for healing. Tanking, I mean the increased flame resistance is nice and you are immune to the burning status effect. So it can be very interesting still if you want to make a Dark Elf Vampire for the increased recovery and then go a tank. High Elf, now the High Elf used to be my go-to magicka DPS character, but recently I have changed to a Breton. Well, spell recharge is very nice. Basically, the lowest pool, that is what you will recover. So if you are a magicka sorcerer, you will actually get restore stamina, and if you are a stamina sorcerer on a high elf, you get magicka restoration. The stamina recovery is actually very nice because you can use dark conversion, but in some fights, when you get pressured too much, you just can't use dark conversion. So that's why I prefer to Breton with some extra magicka recovery and some increased max magicka and to reduce cost abilities over the High Elf currently, because it's more useful when you get pressured. Though the High Elf still gives you increased spell damage, so that is very useful. Imperial, very known race for tanking. It's also a good DPS class because the increased max health, the increased max stamina, and when you deal direct damage from a diamond restoration allows you, you know, to have more resources. It also gives you some increased max resources. So thanks to that you can definitely be putting out more damage and be more offensive. Khajiit is really good for DPS. It's also good for healing because Khajiit is the second and the second only race apart from argonian that has a flat out, or well, not a flat increase, but an increasement in healing done. For the Khajiit, they also have a 10% increased critical healing done, which will help you plan on rolling a Khajiit healer. They also have some increase your max health, magic and stamina, and they also have health recovery, stamina and magicka recovery. They make for excellent DPS and healers, and they would make for like medium core tanks, because there are other races out there which would make for better tanks than the Khajiit. Now Renaud is very interesting as well. They have a very nice passive called Rock, which increases their physical and spell resistance by 4000. They also get increased maximum stamina. When you take damage you gain ultimate, and they have an increased max health and increased cold resistance. They make for excellent DPS because thanks to the increased physical and spell resistance, you have a lot of more resistance, and this allows you to spec a little bit more on the DPS side of the game. They don't really make good healers because they are stamina and health orientated and tanking. So they don't have any bonuses towards magicka, which is overall used for healing, and they don't have any bonuses towards healing done. They make for great tanks thanks to the increased physical and spell resistance and a great ultimate gain, and they are a stamina focused / orientated race because they have an increased maximum stamina. Orc is very interesting. Increase max stamina, increase max health, and heals you for up to 600 when you do damage with a weapon with a 4-second cooldown. Gets an increased weapon damage, reduce the cost of your sprint ability by 12, and increase movement speed by 10%. They make for excellent stamina DPS. Tanking, I mean tanking they would be good. You can definitely make an Orc tank work. I have done plenty of tanking on my Orc Templar, but it's just that I would probably, if I want to focus like endgame tanking, I would probably roll a race like Nord or an Imperial. They don't make good healers because they don't have any affinity towards magicka and they don't have any increased healing done. Redguard. Now, redguards are really amazing. They are also really good for stamina DPS because they have one of the best stamina sustains out there. They get increased maximum stamina, adrenaline rush. When you deal direct damage, you restore 950 stamina once every 5 seconds. And you also get a big reduction in the cost of your weapon abilities and reduce the effectiveness of snare applied to you by up to 50%. Great DPS, not any good for healing really, because again, they don't have any affinity, just like you orc with magicka. And for tanking, they are good. I really like tanking on my redguards actually, especially because the adrenaline rush is quite useful when I'm blocking. I can still restore my stamina. But again, I would probably roll a Nord or an Imperial before I would roll a redguard if I really want to do the end game tanking. Wood Elf. Now Wood Elves pretty much like the redguards. They make for excellent stamina DPS because of their sustain. They get a great increased stamina recovery, increased maximum stamina and increased poison resistance. And they also get an increase in stealth detection. And after you use roll dodge, you gain 10% movement speed for 6 seconds and a bonus to physical and spell penetration. Now Wood Elves make for really good stamina nightblades because if you use roll dodge with the bow passive and the Wood Elf passive, you get like 30%, 40% movement, increased movement bonus, which is really useful to quickly run away and then cloak. They make excellent DPS. They don't really make for great healers because again, they don't have any affinity towards magicka, just like the other ones. And I wouldn't roll them for tanks either because the max stamina is nice, but they don't have any increased health. They don't have any increased physical or spell resistance. And there are just better races out there for tanking. If you want to see a quick overview of damage races, tanking races or healing races, you can scroll to the bottom as well. Stamina, magicka, tanking and healing. And I give you a quick piece of my mind of why I think those are the best or one of the better ones. If you want to check out the full guide, again I will link it in the description, and check out learneso.net for many more builds, both PvP and PvE related, guides and news as well. Have a great day everyone. See you in Tamriel. I'm out. Bye bye.